Hello. They say office romances are harmless. A little flirting never hurt anybody. But when I heard my wife whispering, "I love you," into her phone at 2 a.m., well, let's just say I wasn't the one on the other end of that call. Looking back, maybe I should have seen it coming. Danielle had always been ambitious. She wasn't just a hard worker. She was the type of woman who climbed the corporate ladder in heels so sharp they could stab a man in the back. When we first met, that drive was what I loved about her. But now? Now I realize that ambition extended beyond just her career. The changes happened gradually, the way all betrayals do. It started with longer hours. Business trips that never used to be necessary. Weekend conferences in cities we had never even mentioned before. At first, I chalked it up to career growth. It's just the new position, she'd say. I have to prove myself. And I believed her. Until one night, when I woke up to find our bed empty. I wasn't the paranoid type. I never wanted to be that husband, the one who constantly checked his wife's phone or tracked her location. But when I walked downstairs and saw the glow of her laptop screen, the way she hunched over it, whispering into her phone like a teenager sneaking a call past curfew, something inside me snapped. She didn't see me standing there in the dark, didn't notice as I watched her giggle, twisting a strand of hair around her finger like she was 22 again, not a married woman with a mortgage and a supposedly faithful husband. Then I heard the words. Soft, delicate, the kind of words a person saves for one person in the world. I love you. And she wasn't saying them to me. That was the moment my world split in two. I should have confronted her right then and there. I should have slammed the laptop shut, ripped the phone out of her hand, and demanded an explanation. But something inside me told me to wait. A confrontation would give her a way out. She'd cry, apologize, spin a story that twisted my anger into her being the victim. No, I needed something better, something airtight. I needed proof. I started paying attention, not just to what she said, but how she said it. The way her excuses became too rehearsed, too smooth. The way her phone was always face down. The sudden influx of new clothes, new perfume, lingerie that never made its way into our bedroom. I checked our shared credit card statements. Hotel stays under her name, but not in places we had been together. Dinners at fancy restaurants where I had never set foot. And then, the jackpot. Her work was hosting their biggest event of the year. A massive corporate party, black tie, luxury venue, CEO in attendance, the kind of night that people remember. She was excited about it. Kept talking about how she'd be presenting an award, about how it was the perfect opportunity for networking. And that's when it hit me. This wouldn't just be her perfect opportunity. It would be mine. I wasn't going to confront her in private. I was going to expose her in front of every single person she worked with. The plan was simple. Recordings, a well-timed speech, and a room full of unsuspecting guests. She had no idea that the same ambition that led her to cheat was about to become her downfall. The week leading up to the corporate party was almost surreal. Danielle was glowing with excitement, treating the event like it was the highlight of her career. She had spent months talking about it, dropping hints about how it could be a game changer for her future. I let her think I wasn't paying attention. She had no idea that I had already figured out the real reason she was so excited. She was treating this party as more than just a networking opportunity. It was her big night with him, the man who had slowly, quietly slipped into my place. I had been gathering information for weeks. I knew his name, Aaron Mitchell, regional director, mid-40s, divorced, just the right balance of authority and charm to make someone like Danielle feel special. The kind of man who knew exactly how to play the game, wine, charm, flattery, all wrapped up in the illusion of professional mentorship. I had followed the breadcrumbs, late-night text logs, conveniently deleted messages, phone calls that ended abruptly whenever I walked into the room. But the real proof? An email. Danielle wasn't stupid. She kept her texts clean, careful to never say anything outright incriminating. But emails? She got sloppy. I found one hidden under an innocuous subject line, conference notes. Inside was an exchange between her and Aaron that read like a script from a bad romance novel. She had written, "Counting down the days until I finally get you all to myself. No excuses this time. No work talk. Just us." And his reply? You have no idea how much I've been waiting for this. Meet me after the presentation. Room's already booked. Let's make this a night to remember. A night to remember? I'll make sure of that. I should have felt angry. But at that moment, all I felt was focus. If she thought this was her moment to celebrate her success, I was going to make sure it was her downfall. I started laying the groundwork. First, I made sure I had copies of everything. Screenshots, forwarded emails, timestamps. I wasn't going to just make accusations. I was going to present evidence. Next, I confirmed their plan. I casually asked Danielle about the party, pretending to be the supportive husband. She gave me her carefully crafted version of the truth, that she had a huge role in the event, that she would be busy networking all night. I nodded, smiled, played dumb, and then I made my own reservations. One for the same hotel, one for a seat at the corporate event, and one surprise guest list update that Danielle wouldn't know about until it was too late. She thought she had it all figured out. She had no idea the real show was about to begin. The night of the corporate event, Danielle was glowing. She had spent the entire week obsessing over her dress, her hair, her shoes. Every detail had to be perfect. She wanted to impress, to command attention, to stand out. And she did, but for all the wrong reasons. I watched as she twirled in front of the mirror, making small, casual remarks about how important the night was for her career. She wanted me to believe this was just another step in her professional journey, just another milestone on her path to greatness. She had no idea that this night was also the end of the road. She didn't question why I wasn't going with her. I had never been invited in the first place. She had carefully worded it as a work-only event, a night for employees and executives, not for plus-ones. She made sure I wouldn't be there. But she forgot one simple rule of cheating in plain sight. People talk. I had already made my move earlier that day. A few well-placed conversations, some strategic emails, and suddenly, I was no longer just an outsider. I had secured an invitation as a guest of a sponsor. Nothing official, nothing flashy, just quiet access to the event she had so desperately wanted to keep me away from. And so, while she thought she was walking into the best night of her life, I was watching from the shadows, waiting for the moment to tear it all down. The ballroom was grand, exactly what you'd expect from a high-level corporate event. Chandeliers sparkled, waiters carried trays of champagne, and the room buzzed with artificial conversations between people trying to impress each other. Danielle fit right in. She floated from table to table, her confidence radiating. She laughed at the right moments, made eye contact with the right people, placed her hand on Aaron's arm just long enough to make it seem innocent. She thought no one noticed, but I was watching everything. Then came the main event, the awards, the speeches, the moment Danielle had been waiting for. She was called onto the stage, her smile wide, her eyes shining. This was her night, until it wasn't, because right when she reached the microphone, the large projector screen behind her lit up, and instead of company achievements, instead of the career-defining moment she had been waiting for, it was her own words. Counting down the days until I finally get you all to myself. No excuses this time. No work talk. Just us. The audience gasped. A few confused murmurs spread across the room. Some people laughed awkwardly, thinking it was a joke. Danielle froze. Then, before she could even process what was happening, the next email appeared. You have no idea how much I've been waiting for this. Meet me after the presentation. Room's already booked. The room went silent. Then the whispers started. Danielle's face went from flushed to pale in a matter of seconds. She turned her head slowly, almost as if begging reality to change. And that's when I stepped forward, right into the spotlight. I locked eyes with her, holding up my phone as if asking if she needed a reminder of how this all happened. The CEO, sitting in the front row, leaned forward, his expression a mixture of shock and pure disappointment. Aaron, her beloved work affair, stood frozen near the back of the room, his jaw clenched so tight it looked like he might break his own teeth. Danielle took one step back, then another. Then, before the weight of reality could fully crash down on her, I spoke. Calmly, clearly. So, this is the career networking you've been talking about? The entire room exploded. Laughter. Gasps. Someone actually clapped. And Danielle? She did what every guilty person does when caught in the act. She ran. I didn't follow. Because unlike her, I had already won. Danielle ran. I watched as she stumbled off the stage, nearly tripping over her designer heels, her hands trembling as she clutched the microphone. The whispers in the ballroom turned into loud murmurs, gasps, and hushed conversations. She was still processing what had happened, still hoping it wasn't real. But it was real, very real. She turned to Aaron, her professional mentor, the man she had risked everything for. But Aaron? He was already backing away. He wasn't looking at her with sympathy or concern. He was looking for an exit. Danielle was on her own. I followed her as she pushed through the ballroom doors and into the dimly lit hallway. She was shaking, her breath uneven. "What did you do?" she finally choked out. I laughed, because the irony was too much. "What did I do?" I echoed. "No, Danielle. What did you do?" Her hands clenched into fists. "You embarrassed me in front of everyone. You just ruined my career." I tilted my head, watching her. "I think you ruined it yourself when you decided to turn a company event into your own personal dating service." She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Because what could she say? I gave her a moment to let it sink in, a moment to realize that she had nothing to defend herself with. And then I delivered the final blow. "I know about the hotels, Danielle. I know about the late-night calls, the deleted texts, the business trips that had nothing to do with business." She flinched, her face twisted into something between anger and desperation. I kept going. "You were careful, I'll give you that, but not careful enough. You should have used a different email. You should have picked a man who wasn't so predictable." Her lip quivered. "You don't understand." "No, you don't understand." My voice was calm, controlled. "You thought you were the smartest person in the room, that I'd never catch on, that I'd just keep believing every excuse, every lie." I shook my head. "But you forgot one thing." She swallowed hard, her eyes darting toward the ballroom doors, as if searching for an escape. I took a slow step closer. "You married the wrong man to betray." She broke, right then and there. Tears welled up in her eyes, not out of regret, not because she felt bad for hurting me, but because she had lost. "Ryan, please," she whispered. "We can fix this." I almost laughed again. Fix this? There was no fixing this. Not when her entire career was in shambles. Not when every single person in that ballroom was currently whispering about her, texting their colleagues, sharing the story of her downfall. I leaned in slightly, just enough to make sure she heard every word. "I already filed for divorce." Her face drained of color. I continued. "I moved all our joint funds before tonight. The house? Not in your name. The bank accounts? Frozen. You've got nothing left, Danielle. No job, no reputation, no money." Her breathing hitched. "You wouldn't do that." I gave her a slow, satisfied smile. "I already did." She staggered back against the wall, stunned, and that's when Aaron walked in. Or, more accurately, tried to. Because as soon as he stepped into the hallway, his phone rang. Loud, clear. A woman's voice echoed from the speaker. "Aaron, what the heck is going on? I just got a call from HR. Are you getting fired?" Danielle turned to him, her face twisted in horror. Aaron's eyes darted between us, and for the first time all night, he looked just as panicked as she did. Oh, how the tables had turned. Aaron had been in upper management, but no company tolerates public scandal. The moment the emails appeared on the screen, HR had no choice but to step in. I crossed my arms, watching the two of them with amusement. Danielle's grand plan? Completely destroyed. Her career? Over. Her future with Aaron? Crumbling right before her eyes. She had spent months, maybe even years, building her secret life, balancing the lies, manipulating every situation to her benefit. And in less than 5 minutes, I had taken it all away. I turned to walk away, leaving them to their mess. Before I stepped back into the ballroom, I paused and looked over my shoulder. "Enjoy your night, Danielle." I smirked. "You always wanted to be the center of attention." Then I walked back inside, where the entire room was still buzzing with what had just unfolded. Danielle? She didn't follow. because for the first time in her life, she had nowhere left to run. I walked back into the ballroom, letting the weight of the night settle in. The energy in the room had shifted. The same people who had been laughing, clinking glasses, and pretending to care about corporate achievements were now fixated on one thing only: Danielle's downfall. The whispers had grown louder. Groups of executives huddled together, their gazes flickering toward the door where Danielle had just disappeared. Phones buzzed. Notifications popped up. Someone had already posted about what had happened. This was a corporate world where news traveled faster than damage control. I made my way to the bar, passing by employees who pretended not to stare at me. They didn't know how to react. Some of them still had their polite smiles frozen in place, unsure whether to treat me as the humiliated husband or the man who just pulled off the most savage move in company history. But then, a hand on my shoulder. I turned to find Danielle's boss, the company's VP, staring at me with an expression that was somewhere between amusement and complete exhaustion. "That was quite the presentation," he said, swirling his whiskey. I didn't say anything. I didn't have to, because he wasn't mad. He was relieved. I could see it in his face. He had suspected something for a while, maybe even had his doubts about Danielle's rapid climb through the company. But tonight confirmed it. She wasn't just an ambitious go-getter. She was a liability. And in this world, no one protected liabilities. Danielle wasn't just facing public humiliation. She was now in danger of losing everything. A scandal like this? Not good for business. Not good for corporate image. And Aaron? He had just gotten a very loud, very public phone call from HR, meaning the company was already taking damage control steps. In a matter of minutes, Danielle had gone from being a rising star to a problem that needed solving, and I was going to let her company handle the rest. I clinked my glass against the VP's, offering him a casual nod before walking away. This was no longer my problem. I had done my part, and now I wanted to watch how quickly her world would collapse. Danielle had made it halfway across the parking lot before reality hit her. She had spent the last 10 minutes chasing Aaron down, begging him to do something, to fix it, to convince the company that this was all a misunderstanding. But Aaron was a survivor. And like any survivor, he did what came naturally when things got too messy. He distanced himself. Aaron wasn't going to fight for her. Not when his own job was on the line. Not when his wife had probably just heard the entire scandal unfold in real time. So, when Danielle reached for his arm, pleading, he did the one thing she never expected. He stepped away. And just like that, she knew. She wasn't his future. She was his mistake. She wasn't his big romantic escape. She was a bad decision that had just been exposed in front of hundreds of people. And Aaron? He was already in damage control mode. "I need to handle this," he muttered, stepping toward his car. This isn't about us right now." And then he left. Danielle stood alone. Her dress that had sparkled under the ballroom lights now looked cheap under the fluorescent glow of the parking lot. Her makeup, once perfectly applied, now looked streaked from the tears she was trying to hold back. For the first time in years, Danielle wasn't the woman in control. She wasn't the smartest person in the room. She wasn't the one winning. She was alone, exposed, and running out of options. And I was about to deliver the final blow. Danielle stood frozen in the parking lot, clutching her purse like it was the last piece of dignity she had left. Aaron had driven off without a second thought, leaving her standing there, blinking in shock as reality settled in. This was it. No backup plan. No smooth talking her way out of this one. For the first time in her entire life, Danielle had played a game she couldn't win. And I wasn't done yet. She turned, maybe expecting me to be long gone, but I was still there, leaning casually against my car, watching the slow-motion implosion of her carefully constructed life. It was poetic, really. This woman, who had spent years crafting her image as an unstoppable, ambitious powerhouse, was now standing in a parking lot, mascara smudged, career in ruins, abandoned by the man she threw everything away for. I waited a few beats, letting the silence stretch out, watching her squirm. Then, finally, I pushed off the car and walked toward her. She took a half step back, like she wasn't sure if I was about to yell, mock her, or just keep walking past. But I had one last move to make. I pulled my phone from my pocket and hit send. Her own phone buzzed. She looked down at it. Her hands trembled as she tapped the screen, eyes scanning the message I had just sent. Danielle, your things are in storage. The locks on the house are changed. Divorce papers are on their way. Enjoy your new life. She stared, first at the message, then at me, then back at the message, as if maybe, just maybe, she had misread it. But she hadn't. Her world had just shrunk down to the size of a text message. She shook her head, blinking rapidly, as if denying it would somehow undo it. Ryan, no. No, wait. But I was already turning away. She reached for my arm. I pulled back. No, I said, my voice calm. We're not doing this. You made your choices. I just made sure you live with them. Her breath hitched, like she wanted to argue, to fight, to somehow fix everything. But there was nothing to fix. Her job? Gone. Her lover? Gone. Her home? Gone. Me? Gone. She had spent years building a future without me. So I gave her exactly that. A future without me. And it turned out, without me, she had nothing. I got into my car, started the engine, and pulled away without looking back. And as I drove off, I saw her in the rearview mirror, standing alone, in the dark, with nowhere left to run. Because for the first time in her life, she wasn't in control. And I had never felt lighter. Bye-bye.